Good day everyone, we are the group 3 and today we're going to report about documentation.
Overview of nursing documentation. Nursing documentation is a key component of nursing practice. Documentation provides an accurate reflection of nursing assessments, changes in clinical states, care provided, and pertinent patient information to support the multidisciplinary team to deliver individualized care. Documentation provides evidence of care and is important professional and medical legal requirement of nursing practice. Clear, accurate, and accessible documentation is an essential element of safe, quality, evidence-based nursing practice. Whether complaints are solved by healthcare providers or settled in court, comprehensive records are essential. It is important, therefore, that nurses keep abreast of legal requirements and best practice in record keeping.
Purpose of documentation. The primary reason for documentation of assessment data is to promote effective communication among multidisciplinary health team members to facilitate safe and efficient client care. Documented assessment data provide the healthcare team with a database that becomes the foundation for making clinical judgments regarding client concerns, collaborative problems, referrals, and planned client care. If these clinical judgments are made without supporting assessment data, incorrect conclusions and interventions may result. With the advent of computer-based documentation system, this database can link to other documents, healthcare departments, and even healthcare agencies to eliminate repetition of data collection that can become costly and waste of time. Communication. The record serves as the vehicle by which different health professionals who interact with the client communicate with each other. This prevents fragmentation, repetition, and delays in client care. Planning client care. Each health professional uses data from the client's record to plan care for the client. A primary care provider, for example, may order a specific antibiotic after establishing that the client's temperature is steadily rising and the laboratory tests reveal the presence of certain microorganisms. Nurses use baseline and ongoing data to evaluate the effectiveness of the nursing care plan. Auditing health agency. The audit is a review of client records for quality assurance purposes. Accrediting agencies such as the Joint Commission may review clients' record to determine if a particular health agency is meeting its stated standards. Research. The information contained in a record can be a valuable source of data for research. The treatment plans for a number of clients with the same health problems can yield information helpful in treating other clients. Education. Students in health disciplines often use client records as educational tools. A record can frequently provide a comprehensive view of the client, the illness, effective treatment, strategies, and factors that affect the outcome of the illness. Reimbursement. Documentation also helps facility receive reimbursement from the federal government. For a facility to obtain payment through Medicare, the client's clinical record must contain the correct diagnosis, related group, or DRG, codes and reveal that the appropriate care has been given. Legal documentation. The client's record is a legal document and is usually admissible in court as evidence. In some jurisdictions, however, the record is considered inadmissible as evidence when the client objects. because information that the client gives to the primary care provider is confidential. In healthcare analysis, information from records may assist healthcare planners to identify agency needs such as overutilized and underutilized hospital services. Records can be used to establish the cost of various services and identify those services that cost the agency money and those that generate revenue.
Information requiring documentation. Given the complexity of healthcare and fluidity of clinical teams, healthcare records are one of the most important information source available to clinicians. Good documentation contributes to better patient outcomes by enabling information exchange and continuity of care by all members of healthcare team. Next is clinical documents in healthcare. Clinical documentation is the information that is recorded about a client's care. The primary purpose of clinical documentation is to facilitate safe, high quality, and continuous care. Clinical documentation can take on a number of forms and be paper-based, electronic, or a mix of both. These documents include treatment and observation notes, care plans, correspondence, test result, x-ray, clinical photos, medication charts, checklists, operation reports, transfer forms, clinical summaries and information from specialists, community workers, or general practitioner.
The healthcare record. The primary place for clinical information to be documented is in the healthcare record. It can be made up of a number of different clinical documents and is the place in which all relevant clinical information about the patient is recorded. This includes information about the patient's medical and social history, about the progress and health outcomes of each intervention or interaction, and information from families and carers. Documentation needs to be an accurate reflection of clinical events and clinician decision-making for classification purposes as well as method of communication to facilitate continuity of care. Accurate documentation of diagnosis and patient care interventions ensures correct translation of data and appropriate coding. Clinical coding data is used for health resource planning and allocation, epidemiological studies, clinical benchmarking, and financial reimbursement determined on case mix-based payments. Other documents that support safe transitions of care. Transitions of care are high-risk situations for patient safety. It can be common for patients to experience multiple transitions of care when they go through the health system. Documentation is a way in which the reliability of information is maintained and shared between different treating clinicians with the patient, their family, or carer. High-quality documentation of clinical information is therefore essential to ensure that clinicians have available all of the information they need to safely transfer the care of a patient. Clinical documents that support safe transitions include care plans, transfer, referral, and request forms, event summaries, short stay summaries, discharge summaries, and shared health summaries. These documents have a specific purpose and aim to facilitate the continuity of care. How information is transferred, communicated, and documented for a transition will depend on the situation and purpose of the transition. Clinicians transferring care will need to exercise clinical judgment and synthesize information to ensure information transferred is fit for purpose, accurate, current, and takes into account the specific needs of the patient. Undocumented or poorly documented information relies on memory and is less likely to be communicated and retained. This lack of communication can lead to a loss of information and result in a number of unplanned or poor outcomes and different types of adverse events.
Technology has transformed the way nurses access and use information in their practice. Here are some ways technology is used to access information in nursing. First, electronic health records. Electronic health records allow nurses to access patient information quickly and efficiently. Nurses can view patient history, medication lists, and test results in real time, making it easier to provide high-quality care. Second, mobile devices. Many nurses use mobile devices such as smartphones or tablets to access information on the go. They can access patient records, research articles, and medical databases from anywhere with an internet connection. Online databases. There are many online databases available to nurses, providing access to research articles, drug information, and clinical guidelines. Electronic medical references. Electronic medical references, such as Medscape, provide nurses with up-to-date medical information, drug information, and treatment guidelines. Telehealth. Telehealth technology allows nurses to remotely monitor patients and communicate with healthcare providers. Telehealth can be used for remote patient monitoring, medication management, and virtual consultation. Social media. Social media platforms can be used to access information, connect with other healthcare professionals, and participate in online discussions. However, nurses should be cautious when using social media and ensure they adhere to patient privacy regulations. In summary, technology has revolutionized the way nurses access information, making it easier and faster to provide high-quality care. However, nurses must be mindful of patient privacy and ethical considerations when using technology to access information.
Legal documentation. Nursing documentation is the key to all medical and treatment decisions. It acts as a written evidence of care delivery and supports the nurse and healthcare provider in their moral responsibilities when caring for patients or residents. The foundation of all medical and therapy decisions is nursing documentation. It aids the nurse and healthcare professional in their moral obligations when caring for patients or residents by serving as a written documentation of care delivery. Documentation from the nursing profession is useful as evidence like in court cases. To reduce documentation errors, nursing documentation must be precise, well written, and updated at the point of care or soon after. As nurses, we play the leading role in caring for patients. Many modern healthcare providers and long-term care facilities have adopted the use of nursing computer software, as it allows nurses to streamline and improve nursing documentation processes. So these are accurate and up-to-date patient or resident information at the point of care, quick access to patient records resulting in improved care coordination and efficiency of care, secure sharing of patients or residents' records between caregiver via the cloud-based electronic systems, more accurate and effective resident diagnosis that reduce medical errors and results in improved care, improves patient and caregiver interaction, safer and more reliable electronic medication prescribing or e-prescribing, more legible, accurate, and complete documentation that enables streamlined coding, billing, and reimbursement, enhanced security and privacy of resident data, workflow, productivity, and efficiency for caregivers to meet their goals and targets, reduce costs through less paperwork. Due to the sensitive nature of healthcare industry, nursing documentation must be standardized with specific legislation in place to ensure that care is adequately and accurately recorded. So, there are some requirements that we need to apply as nurses when doing a legal documentation. So, these are the examples that we must apply when doing a legal document. So first, nursing documentation is to be centered around nurse assessments and the planned care that should occur. Second, nurses and other caregiver must document changes in a patient or resident's health conditions and new actions such as new treatments or medication. The nurse documentation should reflect all previous conditions and treatments and any new treatments. If a patient or residents need continuous care, arrangement must be made to ensure their medical records are updated regularly to reflect the care and treatments provided. While nurses must uphold patient confidentiality, there may be times they need to disclose certain informations when, for instance, emergency treatment is needed. The best way for nurses to maintain confidentiality is to ask for permissions from a patient or resident to share their protected health information or PHI, which is governed by the HIPAA privacy rule. This gives patient rights to their personal health information and ensure they only have to disclose personal health data in the case of emergencies. So in this topic, there were do's and don'ts in making a legal documentations. Do's. Ensure all nursing documentation follows the correct nursing process is within the nurse's professional capabilities. Before entering any form of notes, medication, or treatments into a patient's medical record, ensure that the record patient chart is used. Ensure that complete description are entered, including patient information under background, nursing history, assessment forms, personalized nursing care plan, and progress notes. Enter the time when medication is administered, who administered care, and patient's response to treatment. Record and transcribe any phone calls between caregiver regarding the patient, including the time of the call, message, and the patient response. If a patient refuses treatment or medication, ensure this is documented and reported to the floor manager and physician working the shift. Chart at the point of care to ensure all entered details are correct. If additional nursing notes need to be added, chart this information with annotation of the date and time, so other caregiver know it's a late entry. The 5 examples of legal requirements for nursing documentation that we mentioned earlier are a good starting point for us nurses to improve their charting. However, if nurses want to avoid liability and malpractice lawsuits while reducing adverse patient outcomes, they should also avoid these nursing fundamental mistakes. Don'ts. Do not assume the same abbreviation or shorthands are used in every institution. Caregivers have been educated and trained in different institutions across the country. This means they may be accustomed to acronyms that might not be recognized in other state or facility. So, to avoid any confusion, do not use abbreviations or shorthands that are not widely accepted. Never chart a patient's symptoms, such as pain, without charting how the symptom was treated. Never change a patient's record. It is a criminal offense to alter a patient's record. Therefore, once a note has been added, it cannot be changed or deleted. Instead, if additional information is needed, a nurse can attach a side note to the patient's record. Do not write unclear or vague descriptions such as bed soap or a large amount when writing nursing documentation. Be precise, objective, and accurate. Never chart for a colleague or chart based on what someone else has seen, heard, felt, or said. If necessary, quotations can be used to attribute any remarks made by other caregivers. Do not chart ahead of time. Patients or residents' condition can change unexpectedly. Therefore, charting must be done in real time rather than ahead of time. or later to ensure accurate records. Do not assume the same abbreviations or shorthands are used in every institution. Caregivers have been educated and trained in different institutions across the country. This means they may be accustomed to acronyms that might not be recognized in other states or facilities. So to avoid any confusion, do not use abbreviations or shorthands that are not widely accepted. Never chart a patient's symptoms, such as pain, without charting how the symptom was treated. Never change a patient's record. It is a criminal offense to alter patient's record. Therefore, once a note has been added, it cannot be changed, deleted. Instead, if additional information is needed, a nurse can attach a side note to the patient's record. Do not write unclear or vague descriptions such as bad soap or a large amount. When writing nurse documentation, be precise, objective, and accurate. Never chart for a colleague or chart based on what someone else has seen, heard, felt, or said. If necessary, quotations can be used to attribute any remarks made by other caregiver. Do not chart ahead of time. A patient's or resident's conditions can change unexpectedly. Therefore, charting must be done in a real time rather than ahead of time or later to ensure accurate quotes. Despite the fact there may seem to be a lot of laws and regulations to adhere to, the most of them are simply common sense best practices that if a nurse can incorporate them into their daily routines will give them a safety net to help them avoid legal squabbles.
Types of documentation. Number 1. Charting by exemption. Charting by exemption, or CBE, documentation was designed to decrease the amount of time required to document care. CBE contains a list of normal findings. After performing an assessment, nurses confirm normal findings on the list found on assessment and write on brief progress notes for abnormal findings or to document communication with other team members. Incorporates 3 key elements: flow sheets, standard of nursing care, bedside access to chart forms. Number 2, source-oriented record. The traditional client record, each person or department make notations in a separate section or sections of the client chart. It is convenient because care providers from each discipline can easily locate the forms on which to record data, and it is easy to trace the information. Example: the admissions department has an admission sheet. The physician has a physician's order sheet, a physician's history sheet, and progress notes. Number 3, narrative charting is a traditional part of a source-oriented record. Number 4, problem-oriented medical record, or POMR. Established by Lawrence Weed, the data are arranged according to the problems the client has rather than the source of the information. The 4 basic components. Database consists of all information known about the client when the client first enters the healthcare agency. It includes the nursing assessment, the physician history, social and family data. Problem list derived from database, usually kept at the front of the chart and serves as an index to the numbered entries in the progress notes. Problems are listed in the order in which they are identified, and the list is continually updated as new problems are identified and others resolved. Plan of care. Care plans are generated by the person who lists the problems. Physician write physician's order or orders or medical care plans. Nurses write nursing orders or nursing care plans. Progress notes. Chart entry made by all health professionals involved in client's care. They all use the same type of sheet for notes. Numbered to correspond to the problems are the problem list and may be lettered for the type of data. Example, SOAP or SOAPI or SOAPI. S stands for subjective data, O stands for objective data, A stands for assessment, P stands for plan, I stands for intervention, E stands for evaluation, and R stands for revision. SOAPI is a mnemonic for a type of progress note that is organized by 6 categories: subjective, objective, assessment, plan, interventions, and evaluation. SOAPI progress notes are written by nurses as well as other members of the healthcare team. Subjective. This section includes what the patient said, such as, "I have a headache." It can also contain information related to pertinent medical history and why the patient is in need of care. Objective. This section contains the observable and measurable data collected during a patient assessment, such as vital signs, physical examination findings, and lab or diagnostic test results. Assessment. This section contains the interpretation of what was noted in the subjective and objective sections, such as a nursing diagnosis in a nursing progress note or the medical diagnosis in progress note written by a healthcare provider. Next is plan. This section outlines the plan of care based on the assessment section, including goals and planned interventions. Next is interventions. This section describes the action implemented. And lastly is evaluation. This section describes the patient response to interventions and if planned outcomes were met. Advantages of POMR or problem-oriented medical record. It encourages collaboration, problem list in the front of the chart, alerts caregivers to the client's needs, and makes it easier to track the status of each problem. Disadvantages of POMR. Caregivers differ in their ability to use the required charting format. Takes constant vigilance to maintain an up-to-date problem list. Somewhat inefficient because assessments and interventions that apply to more than one problem must be repeated.
Number 5. PI, or Problems, Intervention, and Evaluation, groups information into 3 categories. This system consists of a client care assessment flow sheet and progress notes. Flow sheet uses specific assessment criteria in a particular format such as human needs or functional health patterns. Eliminate the traditional care plan and incorporate an ongoing care plan into the progress notes. Number 6. Focus charting or focus DAR notes. A. Intended to make the client and client concerns and strengthen the focus of care. Number 3 columns or recording are usually used: date and time, focus and progress notes. Focus DAR notes. Focus DAR notes are a type of progress notes that are commonly used in combination with charting by exception documentation. DAR stands for data, action, and response. Focus DAR notes are brief. Each note is focused on one patient problem for efficiency in documenting and reading. Data. This section contains information collected during the patient assessment, including vital signs and physical examination findings during the assessment phase of the nursing process. The assessment phase is further discussed in the nursing process chapter. Action. This section contains the nursing actions that are planned and implemented for the patient's focused problems. This section correlates to the planning and implementation phases of the nursing process and are further discussed in the nursing process chapter. Response. This section contains information about the patient's response to the nursing action and evaluates if the planned care was effective. This section correlates to the evaluation phase of the nursing process that is further discussed in the nursing process chapter. Number 7. Computerized documentation. Developed as a way to manage the huge volume of information required in contemporary healthcare. Nurses use computers to store the client's database, add new data, create and revise care plans, and document client progress. Number 8. Case management. Emphasizes quality, cost-effective care delivered within an established length of stay. Uses a multidisciplinary approach to planning and documenting client care using critical pathways.
Nursing Care Plan or NCP has two types. Traditional care plan is written for each client. It has 3 columns: nursing diagnosis, expected outcomes, and nursing interventions. The other one is a standardized care plan. It is based on an intuition standards of practice, thereby helping to provide a high quality of nursing care. Cardex is a widely used, concise method of organizing and recording data about a client, making information quickly accessible to all healthcare professionals. It consists of a series of cards kept in a portable index file or on computer-generated forms. Information may be organized into sections. Pertinent information about the client, list of medications, list of IVF, list of daily treatments and procedures, list of diagnostic procedures, allergies, specific data on how the client's physical need is to be met, a problem list, stated goals, and list of nursing approaches to meet the goals. Nursing discharge and referral summaries. These are completed when the client is being discharged or transferred to another institution or to a home setting where a visit by a community health nurse is required. Regardless of format, it includes some or all of the following: description of client's physical, mental, and emotional state, resolved health problems, unresolved continuing health problems, treatments that can be continued, for example, wound care and oxygen therapy, current medications, restrictions that relate to activity, diet, and bathing, functional self-care abilities, comfort level, support networks, client education provided in relation to disease process, discharge destination, referral services like, for example, social worker or home health nurse. Patient discharge summary. When a patient is discharged from an agency, a discharge summary is documented in the patient record, along with clear verbal and written patient education and instructions provided to the patient. Discharge summary information is frequently provided in a checklist format to ensure accuracy, and it includes the following: time of departure and method of transportation out of the hospital, for example, wheelchair, name and relationship of person accompanying the patient at discharge, condition of the patient at discharge, patient education completed and associated educational materials or other information provided to the patient, discharge instructions on medications, treatments, diet, and activity, follow-up appointments or referrals given.
Guidelines for good documentation and reporting. Number 1. Fact. Information about clients and their care must be factual. A record should contain descriptive, objective information about what a nurse sees, hears, feels, and smells. Number 2. Accuracy. Information must be accurate so that the health team members have confidence in it. Number 3, completeness. The information within a record or a report should be complete, containing concise and thorough information about the client's care. Concise data are easy to understand. Number 4, currentness. Ongoing decisions about care must be based on currently reported information. At the time of occurrence include the following: A. Vital signs. B. Administration of medications and treatments. C. Preparation of diagnostic tests or surgery. D. Change in status. E. Admission, transfer, discharge, or death of a client. F. Treatment for a sudden change in status. Number 5. Organization. The nurse communicate in a logical format or order. Number 6. Confidentiality. A confidential communication is information given by one person to another with trust and confidence that such information will not be disclosed.
That's all for our report. Thank you for listening.